Hey everyone, welcome back to Genai's World News. We're kicking things off today with a devastating story out of Ukraine. According to BBC News, Russia has carried out what officials are describing as the most massive aerial bombardment ever launched against the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv. The attack killed at least 30 people and injured many more, with strikes hitting locations spread across a wide area of the city. BBC News reports that this latest barrage deployed a record-breaking number of weapons in a single assault on the capital, missiles and drones raining down in what Ukrainian officials called an unprecedented escalation. Emergency crews scrambled across multiple districts responding to fires and collapsed structures. The scale and spread of this attack mark a deeply disturbing new chapter in Russia's ongoing war against Ukraine, and the international community is once again being called upon to respond. We'll keep following this story closely as more details emerge. Moving now to Iran, where the country has entered a period of national mourning following the death of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who was killed back in February. BBC News reports that Khamenei's body is now lying in state at Tehran's Grand Mosalla Mosque, with the formal mourning period beginning this week. The Financial Times adds that the ceremony is expected to stretch across 6 days and is anticipated to be one of the largest state funerals of its kind, a massive event that Iran's leadership hopes will demonstrate the regime's continued strength and unity to both its own citizens and the watching world. Khamenei had held power in Iran for decades, and his death has set off intense speculation about the country's political future and who will ultimately inherit his enormous authority. The FT notes that observers will be closely reading the optics of this funeral for signals about which factions inside the Iranian government are gaining the upper hand. This is a story with enormous implications for the Middle East and beyond. Next, a shocking act of violence in Syria. BBC News is reporting that a bomb explosion tore through a café in the Syrian capital Damascus, killing at least 9 people. The blast struck a venue located close to the Palace of Justice, one of the most prominent government buildings in the city, making the choice of location all the more alarming. At the time of our broadcast, no group had claimed responsibility for the attack. The fact that the target was a civilian cafe near a major seat of government power suggests this was a deliberate and calculated act. Syria has seen years of conflict and instability, and incidents like this serve as a grim reminder that the country remains a deeply volatile environment. Authorities are reportedly investigating, but details remain limited at this stage. We'll continue to monitor this developing story. Now for a story that is nothing short of remarkable. BBC News is reporting that a man in Venezuela named Hernan Gil has been pulled out alive after spending 8 full days trapped beneath the ruins of a collapsed multi-story car park. 8 days. That is an extraordinary survival story by any measure. Rescue teams worked tirelessly over more than a week to locate and free Gil from the wreckage. And when he finally emerged, it was a moment of raw emotion for his family and the rescuers on the scene. Details on his current condition and how he managed to survive for that length of time are still coming in. But this is the kind of story that reminds us of the incredible resilience of the human body and spirit. Our thoughts are with Hernan and his family as he begins his recovery. Shifting gears to the world of technology and geopolitics, a collision that's becoming more and more common. The Financial Times is reporting that AI company Anthropic is actively moving to close off loopholes that have been allowing Chinese engineers and companies to access its flagship AI model, Claude. Despite increasingly strict restrictions already in place, the FT reports that engineers have continued to find creative workarounds to get their hands on the technology. Anthropic is now taking more aggressive steps to shut those pathways down. This is part of a much broader tension between the United States and China over access to cutting-edge artificial intelligence, a race that governments on both sides treat as a matter of national security. The fear, of course, is that advanced AI systems could be used for military applications or economic espionage. Anthropic's crackdown signals just how seriously American tech firms are now taking those concerns, whether voluntarily or under pressure from Washington. On the economic front, the Financial Times is raising a red flag that investors might want to pay attention to. Analysts' expectations for earnings from S&P 500 companies are rising at the fastest pace seen since the dramatic rebound from the COVID-19 pandemic. That sounds like good news on the surface, But the FT reports that this surge in optimism is fueling genuine concern among market watchers about the possibility of what some are calling an earnings bubble. The worry is that forecasts may be racing ahead of economic reality, particularly given ongoing uncertainty around trade policy, inflation, and interest rates. If those lofty expectations don't get met when companies actually report their results, markets could face a sharp and painful correction. It's a classic case of Wall Street getting ahead of itself, and it's a story worth watching closely as we head deeper into the second half of 2026. And we're closing today with a deeply disturbing investigation that demands attention. BBC News has found that Instagram was running advertisements in India that actively promoted child sexual abuse material. The ads reportedly used highly explicit search terms, including words like rape and child video, and directed users to content hosted on the messaging app Telegram. This is a catastrophic failure by one of the world's most widely used social media platforms, and the BBC's findings raise urgent questions about Meta's content moderation systems and how advertisements promoting illegal content were allowed to run at all. Child safety advocates are rightly outraged, and this investigation is likely to trigger significant regulatory and legal scrutiny for Instagram in India and potentially elsewhere. This is a story about accountability, platform responsibility, and the protection of children online, and it will not go away quietly. All right, everyone, that's a wrap on today's Genai's World News. It was a heavy one, but staying informed matters. If you found this valuable, please hit that like button, subscribe so you never miss an update, and share this with someone who needs to know what's going on in the world. We'll see you next time. Instagram was running advertisements in India that promoted child sexual abuse material. The investigation found that these ads used explicit terms, including references to rape and child video, and directed users to content hosted on the messaging platform Telegram. This is an extraordinarily serious finding, pointing to a catastrophic failure in Meta's advertising moderation systems. Instagram is used by hundreds of millions of people, including minors, and the idea that its ad platform was being weaponized to distribute links to child abuse material is both horrifying and legally significant. Meta, Instagram's parent company, will face enormous pressure from lawmakers, child protection organizations, and regulators following this BBC expose. The incident raises urgent questions about how platforms vet and monitor the ads they run, particularly in markets like India where the user base is massive and moderation resources may be stretched thin. Child safety online is a global issue that is not going away, and findings like this one underscore just how much more work platforms have to do. That's going to wrap up today's edition of Genai World News. If you found this video informative, please hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a story. We'll be back with more global coverage very soon. Take care, everyone.